Good evening and welcome to the news roundup for today, Wednesday, April 26th. Before we get into the news, please remember to like this video, share your views in the comments, and share the video with your family and friends.
Teach them! Always make sure the message reach them!
Now for the news in detail. The Ministry of Education says all teachers should receive their April salaries today. Acting Permanent Secretary Maureen Dyer explained that the ministry this month paid another tranche of the new salaries based on the agreement under the compensation review. Dyer says this contributed to the slowing of the process of uploading salaries to the respective financial institutions and bursar-paid schools. Dyer says it is not the intention of the ministry to have teachers endure these challenges, but the transition from a manual system to a digitized one will take time to iron out. She says there have been no reports of educators not reporting for classes due to the delayed salary payment. Dyer says the Ministry of Education is working to make the system for payment of salaries and other services more efficient. The case of the 5 people accused of defrauding the Institute of Sports in Sport has been transferred to the Home Circuit Court. This was announced in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court on Wednesday. The announcement came after the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions entered a nolle prosecute, stopping the case before the parish court. The DPP's office also indicated that the case has been placed before the circuit court on a voluntary bill of indictment. The 5 defendants, Andrew Wright, O'Neill Hope, Rudolph Barnes, Johnny Mills, and Andrea Picton, are accused of defrauding in sport of over $222 million. Peter Champini, the attorney for Wright, said he was not surprised by the move, given the charges laid against his client and the sums involved. A trial date is to be set when the security guard charged in relation to the murder case of social media influencer Anika Slickiana Townsend is called up in the St. James Circuit Court on May 5th. The case against Rohan Roos, who is charged with misprision of a felony, was today mentioned in court. Misprision of a felony is when someone knows a felony has been committed but fails to inform the authorities. Bail was further extended by presiding High Court Judge Justice Judith Pusey. Rose was arrested and charged on November 4th last year on allegations that he failed to inform the police that Rashawn Patterson, the man charged with Townsend's murder, had confessed to him about killing the woman. Romeo Fullerton on Tuesday pleaded guilty to the shooting death of a fruit vendor in Maypen in February. Fullerton, who was charged with murder, unauthorized possession of ammunition, possession of a prohibited weapon, use of a prohibited weapon to commit a felony, and robbery with aggravation, is to be sentenced on July 6th in the Clarendon Circuit Court. Presiding Judge Justice Anne-Marie Lawrence Granger requested a social inquiry report for the 20-year-old man. The court heard that on February 14, Keith McIntosh, a 27-year-old vendor of Mucka Clarendon, was selling in Maypen when Fullerton and another man approached him. Following a brief conversation, Fullerton brandished a firearm and shot McIntosh multiple times. Fullerton stole a bag from McIntosh and escaped. An investigation was conducted which resulted in Fullerton being arrested and charged. Fed-up residents of Hannahtown are calling for the implementation of a special zones of operations in their community, stating that they are tired of the senseless killings.
So many people in that community who have suffered many years because of crime and violence, between political tribalism, between different political parties. We've seen it, and we've reached a point in this community where we're saying enough is enough.
On Wednesday, a placard-bearing group mounted a protest on Slipe Road at the entrance to Hannahtown, claiming that they are afraid to walk in the community due to the increase in criminal activity.
Enough is enough now, right? We need our kids them to walk in peace and play in peace. We don't need to have them in the house locked up in like hostage. No, we have a normal life, and we need to live our life as a normal people. We cannot be like this. We cannot walk in peace. By the time you come outside, you have to look behind you. If you go out, you wonder if you're safe. How could you? You cannot be wondering if you're safe in your own community. It is stressful and unhealthy for the kids them. It is so unhealthy. You cannot be like that. They're so perturbed.
The main perpetrators of murder and their victims fall in the age group 25 to 44, according to a recent analysis by the police. Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang revealed that last year 63% of the agents of death fell in the 25 to 44 age group, while 52% of their victims fell within a similar age band. Declaring that there was a need for a strong policing to tackle criminal violence, Chang said those responsible for the majority of murders were seasoned criminals. Dr. Horace Chang announced that the Police High Command has established a special team of investigators to track down and capture the suspects behind the recent series of attacks on Guardsman Group's courier vehicles, delivering cash to financial institutions. During his sectorial debate presentation in the House of Representatives, Dr. Chang said the authorities are concerned about the attacks, which have sparked fear in the country's financial sector. Dr. Chang says intelligence has revealed a worrying trend where high-profile criminal gangs have formed alliances to carry out ATM robberies. He says the High Command has been provided with the necessary support system to target and smash the criminal networks behind the ATM heists. A St. Catherine man who was charged with negligence following the death of an infant was on Tuesday remanded when he appeared before the parish court. Cavell Elson, a 30-year-old laborer of St. John's Road in Spanish Town, is to return to court on May 29th. When the case was called up, the court was informed that the post-mortem report was still outstanding. Parish Judge Nicole Kelly then ordered Ellison remanded to allow for the completion of his file. Ellison could face other charges depending on the results of the post-mortem. It is alleged that the 8-month-old became unresponsive while in Ellison's care. The infant later died at hospital. 28-year-old Shane Mackenzie of Wildman Street has been charged with the murder of O'Neill West, otherwise called Mad Max, on Smith Lane. Mr. Mackenzie has also been charged with possession of a prohibited weapon, unauthorized possession of ammunition, and using a firearm to commit a felony. The police say on March 28 about 11:25 a.m., Mr. West was walking along the roadway when he was approached by Mr. Mackenzie and another man, who had a brief conversation with him. It is alleged that the men shot and killed Mr. West. Following investigations, Mr. Mackenzie was arrested on April 15 and charged on April 24th. 2 men were shot dead by gunmen in Golden Heights, West Kingston, Tuesday evening. They have been identified as 66-year-old Lawson Henry, a woodworker from Torrington Park, Kingston 5, and 52-year-old Alva Downey, otherwise called Tracy, a landscaper from Golden Heights. Reports are that around 6:15 p.m., Henry went to shower in a nearby gully, and on his way back, he was pounced upon by armed men who opened fire, hitting him in the upper body. Police said the men then ran into the Golden Heights scheme, where they opened gunfire, hitting Downey in the upper body. The men then escaped on foot in the area. Henry was assisted by residents of the Kingston Public Hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. No motive has yet been established for the attack. A 20-year-old man who was taken to hospital after being shot in the head is now himself facing gun-related charges. The police are reporting that a weapon was taken from him while he was being treated at hospital. The Kingston Central Police said they have charged David Witter, otherwise called Pops of Wildman Street in Kingston, with being in possession of a prohibited weapon and unauthorized possession of ammunition following an incident in his community on March 3. Reports are that about 8:10 p.m., Witter was shot in the head by unknown assailants and was taken to hospital for treatment. While being treated, the police said one FMK 9mm pistol with a magazine containing 14 rounds of ammunition was found in his possession. Following an investigation, Witter was formally charged after a question and answer session in the presence of his attorney, the police said. His court date has not yet been finalized. The body of a 63-year-old farmer was found at his home in Vineyard District, formerly known as Stonefield, in Barbary Hall, St. Elizabeth, Wednesday morning. He has been identified as Vernon Smith, otherwise called Brown Man. Police said Smith's body was discovered by relatives. It was reported that approximately 9:30 a.m., relatives checked on Smith as they would normally do, when they discovered that something was amiss and forced open his door. The relatives saw blood coming from Smith's forehead and the right side of his chest. An alarm was made and the police were summoned. 3 spent shells were found as police processed the scene. Police said the now deceased resided alone in a 2-bedroom board structure. The front door had a footprint on it. The body was later removed to the morgue. 3 people, 2 taxi operators and an accountant, are now dead following a 2-vehicle crash in St. Thomas on Tuesday evening. The deceased have been identified as 61-year-old accountant Errol Taylor of a Pembroke Hall address in Kingston 20, and taxi operators 41-year-old Maurice Hines of Retreat in St. Thomas and 61-year-old Derek Berger of Lloyd's District in Yallas. 7 other people were injured and taken to hospital for treatment. Reports are that about 6:40 p.m., the 2 probox were traveling in opposite directions along a section of the South Coast Highway when they collided. The opposition People's National Party is calling for law enforcement officials to provide an update on the status of investigations into the massive fraud undercover at investment firm Stocks and Securities Limited (SSL). It is critically important that the public be kept abreast on the progress being made by law enforcement officials in this important case. While it is in the public domain that 1 individual has been arrested and charged, I want to know whether other persons are being pursued and the status of those probes, said opposition spokesperson on finance Julian Robinson in a statement. Robinson said it is important to note that there are hundreds of investors who were fleeced of their monies and have no idea whether they will get repaid and have received no communication at all about the ongoing probe. Timely communication is important in restoring public confidence in the financial services sector, which was rocked by the SSL fraud, Robinson said. In business, the Bank of Jamaica has intervened in the foreign currency market for the 10th time since the start of the year. On Tuesday, the central bank pumped US $40 million into the market through a flash sale. 8 banks and 7 cambios were successful in their bids, with the JMMB Bank, National Commercial Bank, and the JMMB Securities being the top bidders. This brings the total intervention since the start of the year to US $300 million. In the region, Dr. Jarbas Barbosa, director of the Pan American Health Organization PAHO, has called for countries, including those in the Caribbean, to intensify malaria elimination efforts among indigenous, mobile and remote communities, the population disproportionately affected by the disease. PAHO says although the total number of malaria cases in the Americas spiked from 2015 to 2019, increased efforts towards elimination in the 18 endemic countries have yielded positive results. It says 520,000 cases were reported in 2021, a 13% reduction from the previous year. PAHO says the number of deaths also declined from 197 in 2019 to 120 deaths in 2021 due to improved case management in countries with the highest disease burdens. Early diagnosis and treatment remain key to preventing mortality and reducing transmission. On the international scene, First Republic Bank customers pulled more than $100 billion from their accounts in the first 3 months of the year, amid concerns about the health of the global banking system. The US-based bank says its deposits fell by more than 40% since the end of December. A series of bank collapses have raised fears of a crisis in the sector. And in sports, Orlando Bennett and LaFrance Campbell headline a strong Olympic development 110 meters hurdles field at the Penn Relays. The 127th edition of the 3-day annual Relay Carnival is set for the University of Pennsylvania at Frank Field in Philadelphia, starting on Thursday. And that is it for your news roundup for today. We would appreciate you liking this video, leaving a comment and sharing the video with your family and friends. Have a good evening and see you next time.
Teach them! Hey, yo, hello! Send the message and make it reach them. It's teach them. Right here, Warlord representing.
Thank you for watching. Like the video before you go. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. And remember to share the video with your friends and family. And browse the channel for more quality content. Until next time, walk good, my friends.
Teach them!